We care very deeply about place and about neighborhood and about the things that threaten that. And so we're just really grateful to be here hosting this conversation and trying to think deeply together about where is Washington, D.C. headed and what do we care about and how does it show up. With that in mind, I'm going to briefly introduce one of our co-sponsors for the event, One DC, Nawal Raja, who's an organizer with One DC, is going to share about their work briefly here.
Hi, my name is Multimedia Storytelling. I'm an organizer with the Black Women's Center at One DC. I was here today because we're co-sponsoring this event. Our work is to organize long-term Black DC residents, low-income residents around the intersection of work, labor, housing, race, and help to build power within the community to hopefully control the land, not only affordable housing, preserve it, and build more affordable housing, as well as opportunities for economic development.
Organizer at One DC, and we're really happy and grateful to be co-sponsoring this event tonight. But basically, we're an organization doing grassroots organizing in DC with low-income Black residents.
And tonight we're going to be hearing about the Cappuccino City, a term which we'll all understand by the end of the night.
My name is Derek Kyra. I'm an associate professor at American University, and I just released my new book, Race, Class, and Politics in the Cappuccino City. And this is all about the redevelopment of DC and the Shaw U Street area in the last 10 years. And I talk a lot about the cappuccino metaphor. The cappuccino metaphor is controversial, and you guys can all rip it apart, and I'd be fine with that. But if you think about it, it illustrates some of the changes that are happening here in Washington, D.C., right? D.C. was known as Chocolate City, so that has changed. So now, African Americans are no longer the majority in this city. Whites have been coming back, the millennials, the Back to the City movement. What's happening in here in D.C. as the millennials are coming into the city center and into the historic African American communities just on the periphery of the center, the property values are skyrocketing, right? So the properties are being flipped too, just like the cappuccino is the flipped coffee. What is bringing the millennials in? The millennials went to the suburbs, right? Now they want to be in Shaw U Street, they want to be in 8th Street, they want to be in Columbia Heights, Adams Morgan. What is changing the preferences of the millennials? What is the city doing? What are developers doing to gentrify these neighborhoods? But it's not just the developers. Again, it's the white millennials coming in. Right? Their consumption patterns, their yearning for the bike lanes, for the dog parks, for the third wave coffee shops. These are things that are transforming the city. They come together. So again, what is attracting some of the whites? Now some are coming because they appreciate Black history, right? You know, Black Broadway. This is U Street, right? There's an appreciation for the Black history that was there and continues to be there. But some people are moving because they think they're moving to the ghetto. They think they're living the wild, and I'm going to explain what that means. They are looking for iconic ghetto stereotypes. They are not looking for an appreciation of Black history. And also I'm going to argue that there are really minimal benefits to low-income people in these mixed race, mixed communities, as of right now. We had all these hopes that this would be the panacea for poverty. If we just got people across different income levels to live next to one another, this will solve the problems. This might actually exacerbate the problems. It is leading to the processes of political and cultural displacement. In these mixed income, mixed race neighborhoods, you actually see diversity segregation. And because of this segregation, we're not getting the cross-race, cross-class interactions that are really the mechanisms of benefit for low-income and for upper and middle-income people. From 2000 to 2010 and beyond, over 50% of the low-income census tracts gentrified. This is gentrification gone wild. You know, when I did this study, I didn't think I would find this concept. It wasn't like I was looking for this. I was listening to people and listening to tell their stories. I went to a silent auction by one of the civic associations that used to be dominated by all African Americans. It's dominated by all whites. It's a U Street Civic Association. They had their little silent auction over at town. And I listened to people around the High Boys, and they all live in the Shaw U Street area, and they start telling me about crime like they're at a cocktail party, and they're telling me these cool stories. Like, I'm so hip, I'm so cool, because I live in a neighborhood. Oh yeah, yesterday there was a carjacking. Oh, and the other day there was a shooting.
And I'm sitting here like, aren't you scared? I mean, don't you want to do something about this? The next day I went to another civic association meeting, which was just around a couple of blocks down, south of town. And it was one of the civic associations still dominated by African Americans. And they talked about the same incidences. But they talked to like, this is detrimental, this is problematic. They were living the drama while the whites were living the why. Right? When I say living the drama, they were worried that this would affect their children's life, their lives. So let's talk about this political displacement that is leading to a cultural displacement. This is 11th in Rhode Island. This is a park, I'm sure many of you have been there. It's a park that has 4 different parks within it. So in 2008, a group of mainly white residents advocated for and got $500,000 to do a dog park. For African American, I said, do you use the dog park? I said, no, that's not a space for me. The politics that brought that amenity to this space, they said, we've been advocating for years to get this park upgraded. We didn't get any money. Now the whites come in, they mobilize, and they get the resources. So that's not a space for me. And it's not to say nobody African American goes there, but it mostly white. The new residents, they want doggy parks and bike lanes. The result is a lot of tension. The new people believe more in their dog than they do in people. This is not the district I knew. There's no relationship with the black community. They don't connect with the church. They don't go to the same cafes. They don't volunteer in the neighborhood school. And a lot of longtime black residents feel threatened. The Shaw U Street area, you go to the recreation centers, go to the churches, go to the restaurants, go to the clubs. They are pretty segregated. I'll show you this. I'll end with the end. What we got to do with public policy is we got to grease the wheels of social integration. We've done a great job of doing mixed income housing, but we just expected that's all we needed to do. I talked to the city planners, they're like, oh, well, we're not creating displacement, we're providing some affordable housing, so boom, boom, we're done. We have accomplished something that the old urban renewal didn't. It just displaced people. Now we don't have as much displacement. But we haven't done anything to build social bridges among the diverse populations in these communities. If we don't do that, we have failed. We haven't maximized the benefits for all people in these communities. So,
So my name is Claudia Barrian. I am a community activist, specifically in comprehensive plan and urban development here in the district. I'm also an immigrant, an urban planner, and been doing urban planning work here in the district for a while. The reason why I'm here is because I actually went to school. I did a master's in American University, and I studied a little bit under Mr. Hires' work. But last night, I was at a zoning hearing. There was a specific case that is basically the highest district court in DC has ruled that gentrification impacts should be regarded equally as transportation impacts, environmental impacts, and other impacts. However, when we were at a public hearing, the community versus the developers quoted Professor Hires' work, specifically his book now, throughout their depositions. And it was really hurtful to see somebody's work actually giving ammunition to developers against gentrification. And we were left as community advocates, and me as an expert, couldn't just give a rebuttal because we had 5 minutes to review what was said, specifically looking at economic growth issues and how gentrification is basically going to happen regardless.